We're back. It's the Horns Up Talking Texas podcast. Josh Fisher, Alex Desopoulos, Nikki Snacks Kreider. We'll start with the good before the bad. Bijan wins Doak Walker Award. 4th running back to do it in Texas history.
5 times.
Yeah.
Ricky Williams. So nice. He won it twice.
So nice. He did it twice. Said B, RIP. And then in probably the most forgotten season of at least our tenure as Texas Longhorns, Deonta Foreman was completely unbelievable when he won it that year.
He was overshadowed by how bad the team struggled that season.
The team was terrible. And he probably would have broken Ricky's record, but for some reason they pulled him out of the game and brought in the 18-wheeler package.
Yep. That was, I believe, Chuck Strong's last season as the Horns head coach.
Yeah. I mean, it was horrible what happened there. Anyway, though, great for Bijan. You know what? It's a shame that he wouldn't have won in New York. It clearly was always going to be Caleb Williams, at least for the last 4 weeks.
I think, what was he? Was he 9th?
9th
in voting? 8th or 9th? So he was close to getting there.
The 5th guy was Hendon Hooker.
Right.
Who many people felt should have.
Was it all quarterbacks before him?
Yeah.
Was he the first, non-quarterback player?
I'll pull up the final results, but I mean, Hendon Hooker we know was the 5th guy, and many people felt a lot of recency bias since he got hurt in the South Carolina game and couldn't attend.
It's kind of hard these days, I guess, to give it to a non-quarterback, and I'm not necessarily in agreement with that, but that just, if you're a running back getting Heisman consideration, meaning actually going to New York, being a finalist, you got to be putting up ridiculous numbers,
I don't even
2,000 yards.
He was the second
20 touchdowns.
Corum finished at him.
Corum.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
I actually think it has less to do with the straight raw statistics and more so to do with the winning. Because look at that.
That's how it works.
You've got Michigan in the CFP. We talk about when Devonta Smith, a non-quarterback, won the award for Alabama. Right. They were the best team in the country. I believe Mac was also in New York with him.
Yeah.
So it was at that point, okay, this quarterback had a tremendous season, but who's the best player on this team? And it's Devonta.
Yeah, and he was out of this world.
So I think it would have taken at least the Horns getting to the Big 12 championship for Bijan to get invited.
It's the TCU game.
I think the Tech game as well.
The Tech game with the fumble short in overtime. You get points.
That's not a Heisman moment.
No, it's in fact the opposite. I really think, though, to me, the way Bijan could have gotten there outside of us winning games from a statistical standpoint, or maybe finished higher than Corum in that Hooker, Bryce Young range, in the air.
Yep.
What did I have our stats up right now. I'll play a little guessing game for you guys.
This is fun.
Yeah. Our leading receiver had how many yards this year? Who was it and how many yards?
Our leading receiver was Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, correct.
He had, I think, 700 or 600?
676.
Okay.
Leading receiver. Whittington had 608. Sanders, 577. He was first team All Big 12, along with Bijan Robinson.
He had the most receptions?
He had second most receptions. Worthy had the most.
Got it.
Bijan had 19 catches for 314. So
wow.
He averaged 16.5 yards per catch.
But that's also averaging less than 2 catches a game.
Why wasn't that doubled? Why did he not have 40 receptions? Right?
Should have been peppering him out of the backfield.
He ran for
the ball as much as possible.
Yeah, he had 258 rushing attempts for 1580.
He touched the ball less than 300 times this season.
Big problem. And we lost games. He caught I don't know how many targets he has up, but he was our 5th. He was 4th in receptions on the team. But you look at 5 and 6, it was Keelan and it was Roshan tied at 14. And you can make the argument for those guys, 14
they
receptions.
Should have touched the ball as well.
Is not enough. Especially a guy like Keelan Robinson, who every time he touched, how many touchdowns he have in the air?
I kind of look at this season as well, and I felt like a lot of our drives were very brief. Our time of possession in most games was usually pretty low. Mm-hmm. You would get a lot of 3 and outs. You get a lot of just maybe 5 play drives, really short drives.
Yeah.
Or you get short drives
because you bust
in
one.
the good way because you bust one, right? You get the big play.
Yeah.
you get the deep ball to Worthy, or you get the big run from Bijan, stuff like that. But there wasn't a ton of like clock eating drives where you're running like 12, 15 plays.
Okay.
And I think that also limits when guys touch the ball a little bit.
I think I think it's a very fair assessment. And let me ask you this. And this is my gut check just looking at the stats of our individual players. What stat would be most glaring as to why that was the case? Like, why would the drive short? Why did TOP feel short?
Our completion percentage was terrible.
Yeah.
There you go. That's it. Under.
It's the only thing that stops the clock.
Yeah.
So.
Right. 56.5.
Yeah. I mean,
drops.
I
would
felt
be
like
the
a
only
lot
other
of
thing that would
these
stop the
games
clock.
were dragging along because the
The
clock was
Oklahoma
stopped so
State
much.
game. How long?
It was like over 4 hours long.
I don't even, that might have been one of the only games we didn't watch together.
We didn't watch together. I was at home and I texted you guys. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this game is taking forever." And it was the first quarter, and we were only an hour and a half in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, was he 19? Was that like 19? Was that the 19-49 game?
Yeah,
Must have been. Yeah. It's again, we talked about it in like our gut check season recap. It's seeing like all Big 12, Overshawn, Jalen Ford, Overshawn obviously going to the draft. He'll probably be a second or third round pick. Bijan's probably going to be a top 20 pick and another
First
show.
running back taken.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like, yeah, the first running back that should be taken. Like, I mean, you never know with these teams. Somebody could fall in love with Gibbs from a receiving standpoint because he was properly utilized
Right.
in that capacity. Like, I don't think it'll
Bama does
happen.
that. They know what they're doing.
Yeah,
I don't think I liked him coming out of college a lot, but I don't think Clyde Edwards-Helaire was the best through and through
reading my
do
mind.
it all running back.
It just-
But he was the first taken off the board.
100%.
Yeah, it just really depends on what team's drafting, right?
Right.
And like that you assess your needs and you assess your scheme as well. But Bijan fits anyone's scheme. He really does.
It was probably the biggest takeaway this year because if you get the ball to Bijan, you get the ball to Keelan, you get the ball to Roshan, and let's say those guys are in your flats, and
Good things happen.
Good things happen. But if you're getting the ball in those easy checkdowns,
You're getting yards and easy completions.
easy completions, and you're killing clock.
Exactly.
And you're moving the ball. You're
It's
not
just
stopping.
it's also-
it's another another arm basically of the run game.
yeah.
Yeah.
An extended version.
Incompletion's the equivalent to a strikeout in baseball. Nothing good happens. From
Not to mention, Bijan had not only that game against TCU,
mm-hmm.
he was not great against Alabama either.
No.
I think he ran for less than 55 yards in that game.
Nobody was really great against
Sure,
that
but-
team.
The defense was.
They absolutely loaded the box, both those games, on Bijan. And that means you have to make probably 3 defenders miss before you can bust out a quote-unquote big run, which I'm talking about like 5+ at that point,
Yeah.
right, when the box is loaded.
Absolutely.
And if you throw it out in the flat, like you get
at
you're put
least
in a
4
position,
yards, yeah.
you get 4 yards, and he can make one guy miss. If a receiver holds a block,
Yep.
then there's a lot more room for him to maneuver, and there's less guys to beat.
Well, then you're also spreading the field out horizontally. And then once you're spreading the field out horizontally, then you can't stack the box.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
He has not declared for the draft yet. However, we're probably assuming that he's gone. Has he said whether or not he's going to play the bowl game?
I don't.
And
he's
if you were
going to the
him, would you?
draft, Would I play the bowl game in this day and age? I mean, look, remember a couple years ago when I was like, if you don't play the bowl game, you're a bum. I obviously, like, with the way money is, injuries, Jake Butt is like the guy that we always can like point to, like the tight end. He ruined his knee.
Yeah.
Like, if you're Bijan Robinson, do I want to beat a good Washington team? Yeah. Like, I'm sick and tired of being in the Valero Alamo Bowl for sure. But like, I think this is like, as far as draws of like, hey, teams we could have played, this is a really strong Washington team who had some good wins this year. And if we beat them, and they're like, Penix is coming back, he's playing. Like, they're running a lot of their guys. So like,
Yeah.
this is a legit game. It's not like we see Alabama again where Bryce Young may or may not play. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not
It'd be a meaningful victory for the Texas Longhorns, for Sark. And I think Bijan certainly cares about this university a lot. I'd bet he'd play. I have a feeling that he's going to play. Now, it doesn't, like, hopefully he gets 15 carries and we go up 20 points on this team and we do what we weren't able to do in the regular season, and we execute at an incredibly high level.
Yeah, well, one of the things about this Washington team, and we'll definitely do more coverage on them, is they're very pass happy, right? And we have Overshawn, we have Ford, we have Coburn, who was second team All Big 12, and Nick, your first guess for a defensive player for All Big 12 was
Jalen Ford.
Yeah, and then second Baron Sorrell.
Right.
And he wasn't even mentioned on the. Well, he
Yeah.
was not on either the first or second team. So now we're in a position like we have a really and then Ojomo, we have a really strong defensive core, right? And hopefully you're right. We can really stymie them on offense and really have Bijan get 15 touches. And then I'm down to see Brooks. I'm down to see him. Like I want to see more of him. Like heading into next year.
There was a report from Inside Texas 3 days ago that had mentioned that Bijan, Roshan, and DeMar Overshawn are not expected to play the bowl game.
Okay. That's fine. Like Overshawn, Roshan, understandable. Like Roshan and Overshawn.
Roshan,
Like,
Overshawn, Bijan.
Yeah, the Shans. The
Well, Roshan really can't get hurt
no, he can't
because it's
But-
going to be
But he's
such
playing
an
the Senior Bowl though.
But that's like a scout heavy like game. Like he should be playing in the Senior Bowl,
right.
and that's not going to be as like hardcore,
Intense.
and
Yeah.
intense as like and like the whole week of the Senior Bowl. There's like a lot of other things that go on during that
Okay.
week.
Makes
where
more
it's
sense.
like more focused on like the actual draft for the draft.
Right.
Like so, like Roshan as well is a guy that like
The big Brooks game.
Yeah, I mean that's what we've been, but like a
Who
big
did
Brooks,
who did the fake transfer post where he was
Oh, that
the
was
big
ridiculous.
long post and it was just like, and
Yeah.
I'm staying it.
Yeah.
Why,
Yeah.
okay,
I love
If
that.
you're running back at Texas, like, why would you leave?
He's
He's
right
getting
now?
the keys to the kingdom here.
Yeah.
Baxter might be getting the keys to the kingdom here.
Freshman.
Yeah,
They'll ease him into it. Well, 'cause
Yeah.
look at Bijan freshman year. He wasn't the guy right away.
I know, but he got some touches, and I'm down for them to do like a mix of both. Quite honestly, what I'm looking for, and we definitely touched on it before we get into the disaster that's gone on in the past 24 hours. Quinn being healthy, like getting some time to more time to heal and rest.
Yeah.
Like can these
Maybe
three
even get like a second look and see if you need to get surgery.
can these 3 weeks in between the last game they played against Baylor up until now Washington, that extra rest time?
Oh, you're talking about
Yeah.
I'm talking about just in terms of the off season, like when
Yeah.
it's all said and done, like getting really healthy, evaluating to see like if there's any like structural repairs that you may need to make, like in terms of getting surgery done. Because
Sure.
nowadays, like modern surgery, guys can recover really fast, and it can be proved to be more helpful for them, longevity wise. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I think getting Quinn some time to really recover, to kind of decompress a little bit, look for him to have a big game, I believe.
Because there is potential, like if our defense doesn't stop them, that we're going to have to go tit for tat with the offense.
Right. Listen, it's exciting that we're playing against Washington, but this is the last Alamo Bowl that I want to see.
I'm done with the
I'm
Alamo.
done.
Done with the
I'm
Alamo
so
Bowl.
done with it. Like we've been in this game way too many
Whack-ass
times,
Alamo
and that
Bowl.
just means that Texas underachieves.
Yeah, 100%. Okay.
That is what it is.
Also,
Progressive growth from year 1 to year 2, though.
yeah,
Which
I want to
we've
give a
talked
shout
about
out to
before.
Auburn. I thought he kicked a good season.
He did.
Yeah.
I liked him, except that early miss in Alabama. Miss
Yeah, that
outside
was
of
tough.
On
but
a
then he had a
short
big
field
shot.
goal. Yeah.
Outside of that, he was pretty good.
Yeah. Stepped into a big role. And shout out to Cameron Dicker, who's is flourishing right now in the
Crushing
NFL. Our
Yeah.
former guest.
I
If you haven't
feel
listened to
like-
that show yet, take a listen to it.
I feel like Bert Auburn will be he'll get a shot.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
Look, he's at 80% in his first go as our kicker this year.
Yeah.
Now, we move into last we spoke. We had not played Illinois in basketball, and that's what I was kind of coming and ready to do. That game plus the game we played over the weekend, and obviously now we're in a position where our head coach has been arrested and booked.
I want to quickly just talk about that game for like 2 seconds.
The Illinois game,
Yeah.
yeah,
Real quickly, it's a really good test for the team to see that, because they had more size than us. That's just the nature of what it was.
So did Creighton, but yeah,
Right. But in the last 5 minutes of regular time and then in overtime, it looked like every single possession it was panic mode. It was the Marcus Carr show. Like, let's see what I can do, and if I can't make a play, then I kick it to someone else. And like, there needs to be more of a game plan. Now, we lost that game unfortunately, but it's not going to hurt us. One loss is fine, especially to an out of conference team.
on the road.
On the road. Well, yeah, in neutral playing
Neutral
field.
side.
Yeah, it's like, but that's on like to us. It's like, look,
Not at Moody is the point.
not at Moody.
Yeah.
I'm from New York.
We should have won that game.
Yeah, I'm from New York. I talk about the Garden all the time. We have friends that went. My dad, we know people that went to the game.
Right.
So for us, it feels a little more homey. But it wasn't. It's like there's just as many Illinois people there as there are Texas people.
Right.
there.
Maybe
then
even more.
Maybe even more. Plus Iowa and Duke played right after. Like it's a doubled. You know?
Yeah.
And the thing is, I felt that
But that's going to be every game for you in the tournament. Like the
Oh yeah.
So
I felt Schulman and Bills, who called the game, like I enjoyed them as commentators. I felt that they set based off like conversations that we were having and other people were having on text message threads, which is
they
just,
love Illinois.
they just set us up to believe that we had that game in the bag because we were up 10 with like around 11 to go.
Right.
And in college basketball, 2 quick buckets, 6 points in 8 minutes is like nothing.
Yeah.
It's a 2-possession game. So I felt that they had kind of set the people at home that were listening to the commentary in a frenzy when realistically, like that Illinois team, and there's a lot of teams like that. And if we obviously, Beard situation aside, and you're right with the Marcus Carr thing, there should have been a timeout called at the end of regulation when we didn't have anything. Tyrese Hunter should probably be the guy with the ball towards the end of the game.
Yeah, well, he also needs to make his free throws because they're free.
Yeah, I think he does.
90% free throw shooter.
That's going to happen, though.
Yeah.
Like, it's a singular event versus, like you're saying, Marcus Carr show, which can kind of go off the rails at a moment's notice. Illinois has Terrence Shannon Jr. as a pro. Mayer, who was a top player at Baylor, a team that won, right?
Yeah.
He's come over and he could shoot the
They
three.
got solid players.
They have they have like professional college players and professional like NBA players. They have legit guys, and there's a lot of teams in college basketball this year that are like that. Whether like Gonzaga's off to a slow start, they're going to be competitive. Ditto with UNC, like Duke's going to get their sea legs, but like we're definitely in the mix.
Right, we are. But major step back. Some issues has arose in the last 24 hours. If you haven't heard already. Head coach Chris Beard got arrested for allegedly choking his fiance, domestic violence, and he's been, I guess, arrested.
Third-degree domestic
in jail for the last
assault
24 hours.
from strangulation, and it's a felony.
Yeah, third-degree felony.
Yeah.
There's obviously
bad.
it's bad. Obviously, we can't make any assessments till we get all the facts. You
Right.
know, like we don't know the whole story. But it's a bad look in general, and I just really hope that our team isn't affected negatively by it because someone's going to step in, and they're still going to play fine. But I don't want this to like crumble what the roster's doing.
Oh,
Yeah, per the contract,
Yeah.
item 12, I think, dictates that even just the fact that he was detained and is being charged
He can be
is grounds for termination and or suspension.
right.
So I think you proceed accordingly as if he's suspended right now.
We have a game tonight.
You have a game tonight. The guys have to go out there and play, and which I don't know which coach is going to act as the interim.
Yeah, Nick.
Yep.
And you go out there and you do the best that you can to compete, but it's obviously asking a lot from these guys who are between 18 and 22. I mean, it's
the associate head coach, who I'm guessing steps in, is Rodney Terry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look,
So-
these guys have a game plan in place, and we know in college sports more than anything, while the head coach matters, the head coach kind of maybe does matter a little more in college sports, but a lot of the times, like, they definitely surround themselves with guys who are like-minded
Of course.
in the same game plan.
This guy also has head coaching experience as well. He was a head coach at UTEP and Fresno State for 10 seasons. So he brings 27 years of collegiate coaching to the table. So this guy ain't no slouch. Like, he knows what he's doing.
there's a lot of veterans in the locker room. Obviously, we have a team that's transfer heavy, right? That were guys that transferred from other places, that have played at other places, and are now upperclassmen. So I expect them to take on some of that leadership that they were already doing when Beard was coaching in the past 7 games.
For the kids' sakes, I'm talking about the guys on the team.
Yeah,
There's no. Let's just say this should never happen. Period.
for sure.
It's a tough situation.
100%.
We don't know the facts, but we're erring on the side that stuff like this is absolutely zero tolerance. Game against Rice, at least, it's an easier game for these guys to get acclimated with their new head coach. It's not like we're going into Big 12 play tomorrow. So at least for the kids' sakes, like at least hey, like they're not getting abandoned by their coach, or their coach isn't being stripped from them.
Right.
From a poor situation, poor decision making. Like to me, again, we do not know all the facts, so I'm not going to condemn Chris Beard or try to force a firing. But it's a situation that you're already sitting there and you're looking on Twitter and people are praying that he hit a dude. Like because we know what this means. And Toss, you had seen something where it was like the attorney was like, my client's innocent, which they said
Obviously,
that
the defense attorney is always going to say that.
Yeah. But then there was another report that came out where the defendant or the complainant was saying that they wanted charges dropped immediately. But that,
That's coming from his defense attorney. So we really we have no idea at this point.
Yeah,
it's just
we need the smoke to settle a little bit, or the dust to settle.
Either way, I want to say that whatever the result is, that I hope that the university acts accordingly and communicates accordingly and openly to the student body, and the athletics department makes some sort of statement in regards to this, because domestic violence, it should be something that has a zero tolerance policy, in my opinion. And as a coach, you set an example for your players, right? Again, these guys are not pros; they're collegiate athletes, and I know now with NIL money, like, they can get paid. But part of the job of a coach, in my mind, is molding young men into men.
Yep.
And young men and women into adults.
Right,
and so I think whatever the case, like, it seems to be kind of it's a step back in regards to that.
Yep.
There could be, let's say, we don't know what happened, but worst case scenario, like something, which is seeming likely, like he shouldn't have done, happened. You're Del Conte, you have to act swiftly.
Oh, for sure.
And accordingly.
100%.
There is a less than zero tolerance policy for stuff like this. And again, you're saying,
doesn't matter who you are, doesn't matter how good of a coach you are, doesn't matter how good of a player you are. If you do something like that,
it's bigger than basketball.
Yeah.
Like, you're, again, setting the example for these young guys. And that's like a big pitch a lot of the time that we hear, like, when parents send their kids to Texas, right? When they send their kids to be coached, and we see the relationships with a lot of the college athletes. Like, I watched the Joe Burrow speech, from the Heisman with Coach O, and I watched the Caleb Williams speech with Lincoln Riley, and you see the relationship that Caleb Williams has with Lincoln Riley.
Yep.
So the relationship that a lot of these, coaches have at the big universities, where they're very prevalent in these young men's lives, like, there can be zero tolerance, because that's a piss poor example.
Yeah.
And you're kind of betraying what these parents have trusted you to do.
Yeah, I mean, their kid just got out of high school, right? First time that they're away from home, and they're basically saying, "Look after my son.
Right.
Make sure that he makes the right decisions. Make sure that you make him a better man. Give him the proper tools to be a successful player on the next level.
Right. And it's not just that one guy either, right?
Exactly.
They have a staff of coaches that are instrumental in that process.
Exactly. So you've let that parent down, if that's the case. But
yeah.
We'll see what else happens. I don't really want to talk about this too much.
Yeah, the one last thing I'll say about the guys on the team, teams they're dealt hands of adversity all the time. Sometimes it's a player going down. Sometimes it's a coach going down. And a player, I mean, like an injury, a massive injury to your star player,
right.
And that in some ways can provide the adversity, can provide challenges, of course, but also opportunities for guys to step up.
Guys to step up, but also kind of a bonding experience as well.
For the players.
Getting your team together and just focusing on the task at hand and kind of looking to the guy next to you and saying, look, I got your back if you got mine. Like kind of the similar situation when Andrew Jones got sick, like the team really kind of banded together. Very different scenario, but just a challenge that was in the road that they tried to overcome.
I mean, Mike Leach, we see it now at Mississippi State.
I was about to just say that right now.
Just horrible.
Yeah, really sad. A guy that has coached in the Big 12 against Texas, a guy that is just really prominent in college football, whether you like him or not. Funny guy, just sad to see. I mean, that's just the nature of life, and it's bigger than football. But we're thinking about his family, of course, and the whole program of Mississippi State. But just a really unfortunate situation.
Yeah. And last thing on Beard, many family violence arrests are misdemeanor. This is a felony.
Yep.
He's alleged to have strangled a witness, which is always like something that's deeply concerned for advocates. I'm just reading a tweet from Ryan Otillo. An incident alleged to have happened at Beard's house in September. House went up for sale.
Yep.
So again, I think we're all in agreement that We hope it's as least serious as possible.
Mhm.
We love this basketball team, and we want it for our fanhood to succeed. We want it for the guys on the team to succeed. Guys like Cunningham that have grown and like given this program game in and game out everything they've got. Guys that have transferred here to make Texas their home. Like, we all feel so strongly about the university and about the program. All that being said, there has to be like a zero tolerance policy if it comes to fruition that the allegations are true.
100%.
On the lighter notes, like, from a standpoint from the player standpoint, our team is good.
Yep.
We have some good guys. Like Bishop had a strong game.
We've got some pros too.
We have some pros, man. We have some pros for this team, and so
high hopes for the season. I just think that they need to really focus on the season and just continue to do what they're doing. The good thing is that these next few games that we have are easier games. Some out of conference teams that we're supposed to beat. We're favored by 24 points against Rice. We've got Stanford. There's some tune-up games there, and there's some kind of just like look in the mirror games there. And then we'll be ready for conference play with OU,
which is the conference this year is once again
a gauntlet.
Kansas,
Oklahoma,
Baylor,
Oklahoma State,
K-State, all these teams.
All
good teams.
All these teams are going to be extremely competitive. Tech, and there's also a quick rumor that we may be leaving for the SEC in 2024 instead of 2025. So,
hey, love to see it.
Yep. Hook 'em.
Horns up. Talking Texas.
Congrats, Bijan.
Yeah.